What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Alright, so we are going to continue our coverage over X-Men comics as we are covering the Fall of the Mutants era of X-Men comics. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Fall of the Mutants, it wasn't really a proper crossover. It wasn't like you had the X-Men crossing over with the X-Factor team, or X-Factor crossing over with New Mutants. Each of the three X-Men teams were handling their own different kinds of problems. So X-Factor had Apocalypse. X-Men had the Adversary. You had different things going on for different teams. Now, like we did when it came to X-Factor and X-Men, we're going to cover some of the books for the New Mutants as we lead into what their part was when it comes to the Fall of the Mutant crossover. And so we're going to cover about 4 or 5 issues of books that kind of lead into their chapter in the Fall of the Mutants. Now, the first few pages for the New Mutants is really more of the New Mutants getting ready to go to a party. And the reason why, because Cannonball has a girlfriend known as Layla. Now, when it comes to Layla, she was kind of similar to Dazzler in some areas because she was also a rock star. The only difference is that when it came to Layla, she had the ability to teleport across the universe. And usually what she did was she created a field of energy around her. Anybody inside that field of energy would teleport alongside with her. But either way, over the years, she did use her powers for personal gain by going around to different planets and stealing different things to make some money, but also being a rock star back on Earth like Dazzler. Either way, when it comes to Layla, she invited the New Mutants to her big time party. And for Cannonball, this is a huge thing. You are talking about the idea of meeting your girlfriend's friend group, and you want to make sure you fit in, but you're also bringing your friends as well. You want to make sure they fit in as well. And so you have almost all the New Mutants getting dressed. You know, they're all dressing kind of different, and they tell Magneto that they are leaving. Guys, real quick, I love Magneto's face when he sees some of the outfits of the New Mutants because he's wondering, what in the world are you guys wearing? Now, when the New Mutants arrive at the party, they kind of freak out at first, really just Cannonball. Everyone else in the group is really relaxed and trying to have a good time. Now, when our heroes walk inside the party, they do see another fellow kind of getting into an argument with Layla. Now, when it comes to this argument, we do learn very quickly that this guy and his group of friends are really aliens, and apparently they want Layla to do something for them. Now, the way we actually do learn all of this is that when you have Layla tell this guy, hey, leave me alone and stay with your friends, when she walks away, he goes and talks to the rest of his group in their alien tongue. But Cypher, who's one of the New Mutants, had the ability to understand almost any language across the board, to kind of realize that those aliens right there wanted Layla to do something for them, but she said no. But also, it seems like they're very upset with Cannonball. And so now they're going to possibly try to do something to Cannonball to remove him to have Layla accomplish their task. And so you then have one of the aliens release small pellets on the ground. Now, these small pellets, they do make Cannonball collapse right in front of Layla, which is embarrassing because they were just dancing and having a good time. And so you have Cannonball leave the dance floor to gather himself. But that is when he is confronted by another member of the alien group who begins to talk to Cannonball in a way of saying, look at you, dude. You have Layla, one of the hottest people in the party right now, and you just embarrass yourself right in front of her by collapsing like that. So you know what? You need to go back out there and show her who you are. You need to win the battle against other men who are also trying to get at her as well. And so you have one of the aliens give Cannonball some pills by saying the pills will make him feel a whole lot stronger and put some courage inside of him as well. And so he does take the pills believing what they are going to do. But in reality, the pills do the exact opposite. As soon as he does get out on a dance floor, he begins to hallucinate. He begins to get very drowsy to the point where he has to walk off the dance floor again to get some fresh air. He goes to a nearby balcony, and now the aliens can begin their next step of their plan. Now, luckily for Cannonball, on his way over to the balcony and with the aliens following him, well, Cypher and also Wolfbane were nearby. And they kind of realized, hey, it looks like Cannonball has been drugged. But on top of that, it looks like he's being followed by those aliens. And so they want to make sure that he is okay. Except when they get to the balcony, well, Cannonball is being flown away with the aliens to an unknown location. And so while you have the aliens taking Cannonball somewhere else in the city, he does wake up and begins to use his powers as a way to get away. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to Cannonball, when he does use his powers to shoot himself like a rocket all over the area, he's very durable, very hard to bring down. But at the same time, he still has been drugged, and the drugs are still working through his system to the point where he's unable to continue on for a very long time when it comes to using his powers. But while using his powers, he does run through a certain tower in the city. Now that tower right there is going to be important in the next chapter. But either way, you have Cannonball trying his best to get away from these guys. And so the rest of the chapter is really more of the rest of the team realizing that Cannonball needs their help. And so with the powers of magic, they were able to teleport right over to where Cannonball and the group of aliens were at. Now, as soon as they arrive, they are able to easily defeat the group of aliens. And you didn't have Dani Moonstar use her abilities to read the minds of the aliens and pull out an image to see why in the world they came to Earth and why they wanted Lila so badly. And we kind of find out because Lila was a great thief in her past, they wanted her to use her abilities again to steal a special set of jewels, but she said no earlier. And so this was them trying to find a different way to make her do the job, but they failed. And so with them failing, you didn't have Magic say, you know what, you guys deserve to go to Limbo for a short period of time to learn a lesson. And once you have learned that lesson, maybe I'll let you out of Limbo. And so that wraps up the first chapter. Now, at first, this chapter may seem not really that important, but it does for other chapters down the road, especially the moment where you had Cannonball run into that tower earlier. Now, when we jump into New Mutants number 56, we kind of begin a new story, but one particular part from the last chapter will play a major role in this story. And so we do pick up the New Mutants having breakfast. Now, while they're eating, they're discussing what happened at the party. And for the ladies, they're talking about the men at the party that they were at. But then it all comes down to Magma. Who's on her mind right now? Who could be her crush? Now, when it comes to Dani Moonstar, she's able to read your mind, but able to take what she sees in your mind and project an image of what you're actually thinking. And so when it comes to Magma, she is thinking of a character known as Empath. Now, Empath is part of a team known as the Helens, and they were just the evil version of the New Mutants, and they're being led by Emma Frost at her school. But either way, when it comes to Magma, she gets very upset with what Dani Moonstar did by showing everyone at the table who is her crush. It is Empath. Now, there is another reason why Magma is very upset, and the reason belongs to her father. See, when it comes to Magma, she comes from a country known as Nova Roma. In that country, I want to say she was the princess of the country. But either way, her dad technically did send her away so that she is able to learn more about her mutant ability. But recently, she had received a letter saying, hey, it's time for you to come back home. Come back home and, begin the next generation. You heard that right. Her father wants her to get married and have a child. And for Magma, that is not okay for her father to ask. But at the same time, she does not feel like she fits in with the New Mutants either. And so she's kind of wondering, where does she belong? But she's also thinking about Empath. Now we do jump over to the Helens. Now when it comes to the Helens, they're just eating breakfast at the Hellfire Club in New York. Now with Emma Frost being their teacher, she's also part of the Hellfire Club. So it makes a lot of sense on why they're there at the Hellfire Club. But while being there, they're watching the news while they're eating their breakfast. And they come to find out that Bird Boy, a new character, has been released from his prison thanks to Cannonball. And so when they're watching the news and they see Cannonball literally destroying the tower in the last chapter that had released Bird Boy, they believe that the New Mutants want Bird Boy for their own personal reasons. And for the Helens, they cannot allow that. And so they get dressed to leave and to hopefully find Bird Boy before the New Mutants do. Now on their way out, you also have Emma Frost stopping them to talk to Empath about the idea of beginning the process of her hidden plan. Now, when we jump back over to the New Mutants, they're also watching the news as well, and they realize what Cannonball did, which Bird Boy being released, they're kind of like, okay, we have to go find him. It's our fault that he's out there, but at the same time, it's the New Mutants thinking that Bird Boy could possibly be a mutant, and so they want to go out of their way to help him. Now, while the team is getting ready, you have Magma still very upset with Danny Moonstar. Matter of fact, she does not want to go on this mission at all, but at the same time, she still has to because this is her team, and she wants to make sure they are okay when they go on this mission. Now, when it comes to Bird Boy, I'm going to tell you right off the bat that he is not really a mutant at all. He's a different kind of being. As a matter of fact, we'll talk more about him later on. But when it comes to the New Mutants and also the Helens, they both arrive at the scene at the same time, which means you're going to have both teams fighting against each other to have the chance to hopefully get Bird Boy. And so the battle does last for a few pages, and you have both teams beginning to use their powers in different kinds of ways to help them win this small war for Bird Boy. But then you have the New Mutants realize there is a way to actually win. If Bird Boy is a bird, that means he likes fish. So why not go out of our way to collect a huge amount of fish and then bring them over to Bird Boy to then trap him and bring him back to the school? Because our heroes still believe that Bird Boy is a mutant, but I'm telling you now, he's not. And so as the fight goes on, it does get to the point where you have a standoff. See, you had Danny Moonstar and also Magma riding their Pegasus, but there was an incident where they both crash landed with some of the Helens. Now the Helens, they're holding on to Danny Moonstar. Now it's not very clear on what the Helens are going to do with Danny Moonstar, but Magma is very concerned for her safety, and she's unconscious right now. So Magma really can't wake up Danny to help her get away from the Helens. Now, I know I said earlier that when it came to Magma, she has a crush on Empath, but Empath also has a crush on Magma, and he realized that Magma really does care a lot for Danny Moonstar, and this is a woman that he does care for. He wants to make sure that he still has a chance to get with her. So why crush the chance to just help his team win against her team? And so what he does, he uses his abilities as an empath to make his team members feel differently when it comes to Danny Moonstar, to let her go and hand her over to Magma. But the rest of the team realize the only reason why he did that is because he has some kind of feelings for Magma. And so you have Magma being able to grab Danny Moonstar, but then you have Magic appear with a pile of fishes to trick Bird Boy to come towards them, and the New Mutants are able to teleport back home to their school. Now, when the New Mutants arrive back at their school, they do arrive in the Danger Room, and they're able to use the Danger Room to change how the area looks to make Bird Boy feel more at home. Now, that leads into Danny Moonstar finally apologizing for what she did earlier to Magma. And you have Magma forgive her, but you didn't have Magma say, after, a short while here of me thinking, I kind of realized that I don't want to stay here anymore, but I don't want to go home either. And so I'm going to transfer over to, and guys, I am going to mispronounce the state name, please forgive me. But you have Magma saying, I'm going to transfer over to the Massachusetts Academy to be part of Emma Frost School to possibly be close to Empath. And so as we dive into the third chapter, well, we pick up with the New Mutants still not telling Magneto about Bird Boy, who is currently in the Danger Room. And so you have Magneto being the teacher of the school, the headmaster of the school, saying, you guys need to go to Danger Room and properly learn how to use your powers. Yes, you have gotten better, but there's always room for improvement. So let's go ahead and head down there right now. And the New Mutants, they're trying their best to distract him or change his mind, but unfortunately, he still goes down to the Danger Room. Now, when they arrive, he realized they left on the environment system for the Danger Room because, again, they were trying to make Bird Boy feel at home. And so as soon as Magneto turns it off, Bird Boy begins to freak out because he's wondering, where in the world am I? The entire room looks like metal. And so you have the New Mutants having to teleport inside the Danger Room to hopefully calm down Bird Boy. Now, after a while, they're able to do that. But then you have Magneto kind of looking like, hey, is somebody going to tell me who in the world is Bird Boy? And so that leads into the New Mutants telling Magneto, hey, this is Bird Boy. And the reason why he is here because we believe that he's actually a mutant. Now, when it comes to Magneto, he does use Cerebro to kind of get a better read on Bird Boy. And after using Cerebro, he tells the team, well, he's not human, but unfortunately, Cerebro can't really tell if he is a mutant or some kind of other being. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wait. So Bird Boy gets the chance to stay for the time being. And so while you have Magneto doing that, you have the New Mutants get back to studying for their midterms. You also have Wolfbane beginning to build a bond with Bird Boy. Now, she does go out of her way to ask Cypher to use his ability to try to communicate with Bird Boy. But this is where we kind of see that Bird Boy is kind of making Cypher a tad bit jealous. That Cypher is realizing that Bird Boy is getting all the attention from Wolfsbane, and that is not okay at all. And so when she asks him, hey, use your abilities and try to see if you're able to communicate with him, he says no, and they actually get into a small argument. But either way, you have Bird Boy and also Wolfbane walk away. Now, when it comes to the New Mutants, they also have other problems besides Bird Boy. The idea of Magma actually transferring over to Emma Frost School. It's the big day. She's leaving with Emma Frost. Now, for Magma, she's saying, listen, it was my job to come here and learn from the New Mutants, to learn from Charles Xavier and other people. But to possibly learn more about this world, I have to learn from other groups like the Helens and Emma Frost. And so she leaves. Now, you do have Emma Frost kind of hint at the idea of the possibility of some of the Helens actually coming to Charles Xavier School down the road. Possibly. But still, this is Magma officially leaving the New Mutants. And it really does bother the New Mutants a lot, but also Magneto. Now, when it comes to Magneto, he feels like he failed as a teacher because it was his goal to kind of make sure that everyone is okay at the school. But here we go with Magma. He feels like if he tried a tad bit harder with her, maybe she would not left to go to Emma Frost School, but she still did. And so you have the New Mutants realize that Magneto is just kind of feeling down about her leaving. And so their goal is to cheer themselves up and hoping with them being happy, he'll be happy. But getting back to Bird Boy, you then have the team think of the idea of, okay, if Bird Boy is possibly a human or possibly a mutant, well, that means he should do some human or mutant activities like going to the mall, getting some food, or possibly going to the movies. And so they give Bird Boy a disguise and they use the powers of magic to teleport over to the nearby mall to see if maybe these different kinds of human activities will do some good for Bird Boy. It doesn't, because as soon as they go over to a restaurant and they order a bunch of food, Bird Boy begins to freak out. Not in a bad way. Well, yes, in a bad way, because he does go crazy all over every single person's food, but it's causing a scene at the restaurant to the point where they have no choice but to leave. But as they are leaving, you do have Cypher pay for all the damages, but Bird Boy went ham on every single person's meal to show that Homeboy can truly eat. And so their next goal is to take him to the movies. But before they are able to go to the movies, well, they realize that when it comes to the way he is dressed and the way he is looked, Bird Boy is causing a huge scene in the middle of the mall. Different people are beginning to question him. And so you have our heroes realize they have to go back home, like right now. And so they realize that they can't do it just right here in the open. They had to go somewhere where no one can see them teleporting back home to the school. And they realize the best option would be the movies. It's really dark in there. Here comes the problem, because as soon as they walk inside the movie is playing and it caused Bird Boy to freak out. And so you have our heroes once again using their powers in this dark theater room to hopefully grab Bird Boy and to be able to teleport back home to the school. Except when they get back to the school, Magneto is there and he's very upset because he got word from the mall about how his students had technically destroyed a table at the restaurant. Really, it was Bird Boy, but still, the New Mutants were involved. And so he was very upset about the idea that one, they're not studying for their midterms, but two, they took Bird Boy out of here and he caused a scene at the mall, which could bring more pressure on the actual school. And so you have Magneto saying, we are going to go ahead and call the police to have him removed from our school because there's no way that he can stay here because he's not human. He's something, but he's not human. And so you have Wolfman and other members of the New Mutants being very upset about the idea of him possibly leaving until you didn't have Cypher use his ability to actually communicate with Bird Boy. Now, when he does that, Cypher realized why Bird Boy acted the way he did at the restaurant, because the way he was trained by people that had created him. He said to Cypher that when it comes to having food, that means that he was good. When there was no food, that means he was being bad. And so when he saw all that food in front of him, he's all like, oh, I've been really good. And so he assumed all the food was for him. And so now with the New Mutants having a way to communicate with Bird Boy, there is a chance where they could possibly train him so that they can keep him. Now, when we jump into the final chapter for today's video, we pick up with the New Mutants beginning to use the abilities of Cypher to teach Bird Boy how to actually speak. Now, at first, he does struggle because you're talking about the idea of a person, or this could be a person that's half human, half bird, and most likely has a bird brain. But you do have Cypher being able to actually teach Bird Boy some words as a way to communicate with the actual team. Now, as time passes by, you have Bird Boy look outside and he realizes it's nighttime and he wants to leave. But you have the New Mutants not allowing him to leave, but they're wondering, why does he want to leave so bad? What's out there? Where is he trying to go? And so they didn't try to use TV as a way to keep Bird Boy distracted long enough so that one, they could go back to studying, but two, hoping that maybe watching Sesame Street, will actually teach him some words that he can use to help communicate with the team. But while you have the show continue on, they show a tiger. Now, for some reason, Bird Boy begins to freak out and wants to actually attack the TV. But luckily, our heroes were able to step in his way and stop him again. But this is another example of something deep is going on in the mind of Bird Boy. But the question is right now, what? Why is he acting this way in the first place? And so they change the channel, and when they do, a commercial comes on talking about food, and you have Bird Boy being able to say the words of hamburger, fries, things like that, to say, hey, I want that right now. I want some food. And so you have Magic being able to, use her powers to teleport over to a restaurant, grab some food, and bring it back to Bird Boy. But it really shows that he is improving when it comes to using certain words. And so then you have the team want to sit down with one another to hopefully figure out, where did Bird Boy come from? Because honestly, that could kind of help understand the character a tad bit more. Now, they do show him different maps to see if he has an idea where he is from, and right off the bat he says, okay, you know what, I think I came from somewhere in Greenland or somewhere nearby it. Now, they're also going off the information from the reports that talked about Bird Boy before he was put in that tower that Cannonball broke earlier in the storyline. And so with those reports, but also the way Bird Boy's acting to different kinds of maps, they kind of got an idea of like, okay, somewhere off the coast of Greenland is where he is from. Now, we also find out that anytime he sees a picture of a zoo, he begins to freak out even more. And that gives our heroes a tad bit more of information to work with. Now, time passes by, and once again, it's nighttime. But you have Bird Boy beginning to freak out when he looks outside and sees the moon. And with him seeing the moon, he just goes crazy and busts right out the window, flying away. Now, the New Mutants, they heard the noise. When they run into his room, they realize it's too late, he's gone, but they have no idea where in the world he is going. Now, we get the chance to follow Bird Boy, and we see him go right over to a nearby burger shop to buy a bunch of burgers and drinks and shakes as well. Now, we have no idea what he is trying to do with all these different kind of items, but apparently he's in a hurry. And so once you have Burger Shop stop freaking out and give the Bird Boy everything he wants, he flies away to his next location. Now, our heroes are able to catch up to him and actually stop him. But again, they're wondering, where were you going? Why are you trying to fly away? And so you have Danny Moonstar being able to use her powers to connect her mind to his mind and to pull out images to see what he is thinking about. And we kind of find out he is worried about his friends. Not the New Mutants, but the friends he had at the lab that apparently he had escaped from. Because he says, listen, if they were not acting right in the eyes of the person in charge of the lab, they didn't get any food. But also the testing was very brutal. And so you have Bird Boy trying to go back to the island to feed his friends. That was his goal. But the problem is, Homeboy's in New York. His friends are back near an island near Greenland. And so you have our heroes realize that it's possibly best for them to go ahead and help out Bird Boy to help his friends. And so you have Magic use her abilities to teleport the team right over to the island that they were able to see in the mind of Bird Boy. Except when they do arrive, they are surrounded by a bunch of creatures. And this leads us into the New Mutants chapter of Fall of the Mutants, which should be very interesting. But with that being said, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.